On this week's program, Rump gets reductive. BDubz may feel there's one true way to play, but he has lots of stupid comments he thinks supports it. A guy named Randy makes a dandy of a comment about expensive games. And old Eric Diaz shows a stunning lack of knowledge regarding mid-1400s weaponry. Happy Memorial Day to all my American viewers. Please remember that today is the day we honor those who fell to defend our nation and our God-given rights that are constitutionally protected. Rights like the freedom to say really stupid things on the internet, and rights like the one to make a weekly YouTube video about people saying stupid things on the internet. If these brave soldiers, sailors, Marines, and airmen didn't lay it all on the line, none of this would be happening. Welcome to Driving and Dragons. I'm Daniel, and this is Intelligence as a Dump Stat. Remember to jump on over to Patreon and sign up to follow the Dodge Dart Project, and if you can afford to do so, feel so inclined, become a paid member so you can add your own input to the project. Also, remember to like, share, and subscribe here on YouTube, and as always, leave your thoughts in the comments below. So what have we got coming in this week? Let's start with a take that more misses the forest for the trees as opposed to starting out with out-and-out stupidity. Ease into it, so to speak. Our good buddy and BroSR midfielder, Rump DM, has made a few tweet threads responding to the videos that I've made on alignment. While there is some good buried in there, a lot of it is completely masked by BroSR gamist nonsense and callbacks to how if you just joined the cult, you would innately understand everything, with a few completely obtuse arguments that intentionally miss the points. But what landed him on this list is this statement. Quote, something we often miss in our discussion of alignment is that evil creatures are motivated to do evil because they are evil. It's not always their motivation for power that causes them to do evil. Some creatures just like committing evil deeds, unquote. This on its own is reductive and tries to present an edge case as some great revelation, but it isn't a terrible take. However, he takes it further with this. Quote, evil creatures don't do evil because they love themselves, they do it because they hate you and everything about you, unquote. An idiotic declaration made in all caps to make sure everyone heard just how moronic he can be. There are some creatures, mainly outsiders and certain undead, where these statements hold some measure of truth. Demons and devils are the incarnate primordial force of evil itself, and their nature is to drive and spread evil. Some undead are literally manifestations of hate and malice towards certain living beings. But first, this is the exception, not the rule. As a rule, we are talking about what makes a sentient being who is capable of being any alignment fall under the alignment they are and how to think and play as that alignment when determining your character's actions. And his first comment is entirely circular. Evil creatures like doing evil because they're evil. Well, Rump, evil needs a definition. Your statements do nothing to define it, and your you know it when you see it comments add less than nothing in a gaming context. Also, they don't do evil because they hate you and everything about you. If they do something out of hate for another person, it's because they derive some form of satisfaction from killing you. The motivation is still selfish. A good character can hate you just as much as an evil one, but doesn't put the pleasure of cutting your throat first on their priority list. Just don't listen to the bros on anything that has to do with gaming outside of how to run one-to-one time, and even then, grain of salt. I'll save you some time. Read Appendix N, and you will suddenly understand everything with perfect clarity. There, now you know how the bros do things related to actual role-playing. It isn't like Appendix N has a wide variety of views and nuanced takes, and some of which are in contradiction to one another. Finishing out this week's journey through Broville, and I know the bros are featured here a lot, but they are terminally online and post almost constantly with the kind of broad declarative statements that lend themselves to bad takes. Plus, they intentionally troll, incite, and act in bad faith, so yeah. But we have BDubz here, leader of the BroSR, currently calling himself Moonstein News Network in reference to one of their Bronstein games, he came out with this steaming pile of one true wayism nonsense. Quote, every single D&D campaign where the players don't try and exert agency and push for the game world vision and their own hooks is terrible. Waiting for the DM to feed you hooks is objectively bad play and boring in every way, every time, unquote. He uses words like objectively, agency, and hook as if he has no idea what their actual definitions are. First, nothing he said was objective. It was his flawed opinions with some bad advice sprinkled in. This is, as I've said before, the critical failure of all BroSR philosophy. They are under the false assumption that there is one objectively superior method of play that provides a superior experience to every person, and that if you don't recognize it, that their way is superior and more enjoyable, it's because you aren't doing it right. It could never be that different people have different priorities and different goals that are better served by different playstyles. In this comment, BDubz clearly doesn't understand what a hook is. He also has a struggle with agency. You see, agency means that a player has complete autonomy to make decisions and take actions as their PC. It doesn't mean that the player should be ignoring the social contract they have with other players and take action that makes no sense for their character to take based on how a person would realistically react in a situation. And it damn sure doesn't mean that a player should disrupt the game by shoving at the edges of everything in order to, quote, discover the world while ignoring the stimuli that's placed in the game by the DM. Not every game is a sandbox hex crawl slapped together with random tables. Even their precious AD&D was not designed to be played only in that fashion. And if we look at the honest history of the game, that way of playing was very quickly found to be the less desirable use of the system. What is a hook? A hook is an inciting incident or a piece of information. You find a key on the ground for a safety deposit box. That's a hook. Maybe you open the box to see what's inside. Maybe you turn it back to the bank manager for the rightful owner to claim. Maybe you take it and wait to see if there's a reward or something. According to BDubz' comment here, that would be bad play and no good. The only correct answer is to ignore the key and go do something completely different after you reach an area of town that is 6 blocks past where the DM finished his map for the game. This isn't good play, it's asshole play. Especially when everyone in the group showed up to play a certain type of game and you decided to use your agency to hijack the game. Next up, we have Randy. Randy Pitchford, co-founder of Gearbox Studios and game designer behind PC games like Duke Nukem 3D and most notably Borderlands. Now, in a way, Randy isn't entirely wrong, but he is definitely deflecting and intentionally trying to petty fog the situation. You see, Borderlands 4 is set to drop on the Switch soon, and Randy is understandably excited about that. A fan replied, Randy, this game better not be $80. Don't take that risk. A lot of gamers aren't going to pay $80 and feed this notion of constant increases in price tag. You're the CEO. You have some say with the price when it comes to the publisher. This is a very reasonable thing given the current backlash over increased prices in AAA games. Randy's reaction? First, it is to say it's not his call, which it may in fact not be, but after that, he levels the if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to pay me bullshit. Randy, allow me to educate you on economics. Pricing should only reflect two things, supply and demand. Sure, Borderlands is great, but there are a lot of great games out there, and in case you missed it from your ivory tower, inflation and other economic woes have left money tight for most gamers. The first thing that gets cut when money gets tight is luxury items like games. Your demand is already shrinking, and higher prices will only lead them to move to other less expensive options. And guess what? If I got $80 to buy one game, and there are two games that I want, I'm buying the one that was published by a guy who didn't act like a jackass and tell me to get my mower out and go cut yards so I could afford the markup on the game. You'd have a better chance of convincing someone that the porno movie you had on that flash drive you left at medieval times was because the girl was doing a magic trick than you do spinning this retarded comment in a good light. And yes, there was a lawsuit that was kicked off because he left a flash drive with company secrets and porn on it at medieval times. I'm not kidding. Google it. And yes, his actual defense was the porno movie that was on the flash drive was because it was similar to a magic trick. That statement in and of itself, the fact that you think anybody would believe that, honestly should land you on this list by itself, but it didn't happen in the last week. Last but not least, we have Eric Diaz, RPG author over at Methods and Madness. Now, I generally like Eric. Most of what I've seen from him is good stuff, and generally he adds value to the conversation when he joins it. But when he says that he is convinced that arrows and all thrown weapons are just too strong in most RPGs, and that in real life a swordsman would conquer a bowman 90+% of the time, he's just being ignorant of history. Seriously, the longbow was the backbone of the English military for centuries. The actual soft tissue damage that arrows, javelins, and the like causes in most cases is worse than a gunshot. A Welsh longbowman could punch an arrow right through chainmail and gambus and armor. Unless you were wearing plate or some kind of sloped cuirass, you were toast. A decent archer is cranking out an arrow every 5 seconds and is hitting targets hundreds of feet away. If anything, I have generally felt that most bows are underpowered in TTRPGs because damage bonuses rarely apply like they do to melee weapons. Added to this is the wealth of melee weapons that have additional bonuses like disarm or trip attack features, and you start to see that the bow needs a lot of help to become a top battlefield weapon like it was in real life. I'm sorry, Eric, but send a swordsman in a leather breastplate or a gambeson or chainmail after a halfway competent archer, and unless that fight starts within about 40 feet, the swordsman's just going to be a pincushion. This one just wasn't very well thought out. Well, that's what I've got this week, folks. I hope you all have your grills fired up and your beverage of choice on ice and enjoy the long weekend. Just remember to raise a toast to the guys who died to make it all happen. And I'll see you guys next time.